At the edge of a small village stands an old, abandoned building that locals call the Haunted House. Stories warn that anyone who enters never comes back. Despite the warnings, Ollie and his friends have always been curious about its dark secrets. One evening, Ollie convinces his friends to explore the building and uncover the truth. As soon as they step inside, an eerie silence and a chilling cold greet them, making their hearts race. Every room seems trapped in a strange stillness, shadows moving as if alive. In one of the dusty rooms, Ollie finds an old doll, worn and forgotten. To their shock, the doll's eyes suddenly open, following their movements. Panic spreads when one of the friends mysteriously disappears, leaving the rest terrified and scrambling for an exit. The building seems to react to their fear. The doors and windows begin locking themselves, as if an invisible force wants to trap them forever. While searching desperately, Ollie discovers an old diary that reveals the horrifying truth. Spirits are trapped within the walls, feeding on anyone who enters. Suddenly, a terrifying, disembodied voice echoes through the halls, warning them that they will never leave alive. Ollie, gathering all his courage, throws the doll to the ground, breaking its hold and weakening the building's dark energy. Finally, the friends manage to escape, gasping for air as they step back into the night. Although they survive, the building stands silently behind them, its shadowy halls still holding countless secrets and waiting for the next intruder. Its sinister presence lingers in the village, a chilling reminder that curiosity can sometimes awaken things better left undisturbed. The story continues as Ollie and his friends, having narrowly escaped the first horrors of the haunted building, feel a mix of relief and lingering fear. They decide to return the next day, driven by curiosity and a desire to uncover more of the building's dark history. As they enter again, the sun is setting, casting long, eerie shadows across the broken floors and cracked walls. The building seems almost alive, creaking and whispering as if it remembers their previous intrusion. Exploring deeper, Ollie notices strange markings on the walls, symbols that seem to shift and change when no one is looking. The friends feel an unsettling presence following them, and the air grows heavy with the smell of decay. In one room, they find old portraits of people who once lived there, but their eyes appear hollow, as if watching. Suddenly, footsteps echo behind them, though no one is there. Panic rises as the shadows start stretching unnaturally, and one friend screams when a dark figure darts past the hallway. Ollie stumbles upon a hidden staircase leading to a basement filled with forgotten relics, old furniture, and broken toys. In the corner lies a chest with the same doll they had thrown before. The doll's eyes flicker with a sinister glow, and whispers fill the room, speaking in a language they cannot understand. The friends realize that the building is feeding on their fear, growing stronger the longer they stay. Desperation takes hold as the doors slam shut, trapping them inside. Ollie remembers the diary from before and attempts to destroy the doll to break the curse. As he smashes it, the shadows scream and twist violently, and a final, horrifying presence emerges, an entity of pure darkness. Using courage and teamwork, the friends narrowly escape once again, fleeing into the night. The building stands behind them, silent but more menacing than ever, promising that their encounter was only the beginning. After their second terrifying encounter, Ollie and his friends are scarred but strangely compelled to return one final time. Rumors in the village hint that the building's curse is growing stronger, and some locals claim it can now reach outside its walls. Determined to end the nightmare once and for all, Ollie gathers his friends at dusk and approaches the haunted structure. The building seems to sense their return. Windows rattle, doors creak, and a cold wind whistles through broken hallways. Inside, the atmosphere is heavier than before. Shadows twist unnaturally, forming shapes that seem almost human. The friends hear faint whispers calling their names, and the walls appear to pulse as if the building itself is alive. In the deepest part of the basement, Ollie discovers a hidden chamber sealed with old chains. Breaking the lock, they find hundreds of dolls, each with eerily lifelike eyes, staring blankly. The air grows suffocating, and the same dark entity from before materializes, towering over them with a terrifying presence. The entity reveals that it feeds on curiosity and fear, trapping souls to grow stronger. The friends are paralyzed by terror, but Ollie remembers the diary's instructions. To weaken the spirit, they must destroy the anchor, the first doll that started it all. With shaking hands, Ollie smashes the original doll. A deafening roar echoes through the building as shadows writhe and the entity shrieks. The walls shake violently, and the friends barely manage to escape through a collapsing hallway. Outside, the village seems normal again, but the night air carries a faint whisper, a reminder that the evil has not been fully destroyed. Ollie and his friends are forever changed, haunted by what they experienced. Though they survived, the building remains, waiting silently for the next victim, its darkness patient and eternal. The horror is not gone. It only sleeps, ready to awaken at the curiosity of the next intruder. Weeks after narrowly escaping the haunted building, Ollie begins noticing strange occurrences outside the structure. Shadows move unnaturally in his own home. Objects shift on their own, and faint whispers echo in empty rooms. He realizes that the building's dark influence has followed them, spreading beyond its walls. Despite the fear, curiosity gnaws at him, and he convinces his friends to investigate once more, hoping to find a way to stop the curse entirely. As they return at night, the building appears more sinister than ever. The windows are black voids, and the wind carries faint, agonized cries. Entering the main hall, the friends are confronted by twisted reflections of themselves in broken mirrors. Each reflection seems alive, moving independently, mocking and terrifying them. Ollie leads the group to the basement, where the first doll eye is broken, but its aura still pulses with malevolent energy. Surrounding it are countless remnants of spirits trapped in small, twisted forms. Suddenly, the dark entity manifests fully, larger and more terrifying than before. It moves with unnatural speed, corners them, and attempts to claim their souls. The friends are paralyzed with fear, but Ollie recalls the diary's warnings. Only confronting the entity's source can end its power. Summoning courage, Ollie gathers shards of the broken doll and throws them into a circle of candles, chanting words from the diary. The entity shrieks in fury as shadows collapse inward, the air vibrating with an otherworldly energy. The building groans and trembles, debris falling around them. But finally, the oppressive force weakens. The friends escape through a crumbling doorway as the first light of dawn pierces the darkness. Though they survive, the haunting leaves permanent marks. Every shadow now feels threatening, and the memory of the building's darkness lingers. The curse may have receded, but Ollie knows the evil will never fully vanish. It only waits for another soul to awaken it. Months have passed since Ollie and his friends survived the building's horrors. Yet the village feels colder, quieter, as if the darkness has seeped into its very streets. Ollie notices that the nightmares have grown stronger. He wakes screaming, haunted by shadowy figures and whispering voices. Friends who entered the building report strange illnesses, sudden chills, and glimpses of moving shapes in their homes. It becomes clear that the entity's influence continues to grow, feeding on fear even from afar. Determined to end the curse once and for all, Ollie researches the village's history and discovers that the building was once the home of a mysterious occultist who trapped souls to gain immortality. Realizing that destroying the dolls alone may not be enough, he gathers his friends for a final confrontation. Armed with ritualistic knowledge from ancient texts and the diary, they prepare to face the entity in its lair. Returning at night, the building appears transformed. Its walls stretch higher, shadows writhe like living creatures, and the air is thick with a suffocating chill. Every step forward feels like walking into a trap. In the basement, the entity manifests fully, more terrifying than ever, feeding off their fear. Its voice echoes from all directions, distorting reality itself. The friends form a circle and begin the ritual, chanting ancient words and breaking the remnants of the dolls. Shadows scream, walls shake violently, and a vortex of dark energy swirls around them. Through courage and teamwork, they manage to weaken the entity, which lets out one final shriek before dissipating into a cloud of darkness. The building begins collapsing, but Ollie and his friends escape just as the sun rises, bathing the village in light. The horror is over, for now, but the memory of the entity lingers. The cursed building may be gone, yet Ollie knows that true evil never fully disappears. It only waits, patient and eternal, for the curiosity and fear of its next victims. After the collapse of the haunted building, life in the village seems to return to normal, but Ollie senses that something is still wrong. Objects move slightly on their own, whispers linger in empty hallways, and shadows flicker unnaturally. It becomes clear that fragments of the entity survived the building's destruction, spreading its influence quietly throughout the village. Ollie's friends are also affected. Nightmares plague them, and some claim to see the same dark figure lurking just out of sight. One evening, Ollie discovers a hidden, crumbling chamber beneath his own home, filled with remnants of the dolls and strange, occult symbols etched into the walls. Realizing that the evil has migrated and is growing stronger, he warns his friends and urges them to act before it claims more victims. They decide to perform a protective ritual, using knowledge from the diary and the occultist's old texts, aiming to contain the lingering darkness permanently. As night falls, the village becomes a maze of shadows. The entity manifests as a shifting mass of darkness, attacking from corners, floors, and ceilings simultaneously. Fear threatens to overwhelm the friends, but Ollie's courage keeps them focused. They form a protective circle around the occult symbols, chanting the ritual while throwing the surviving doll fragments into the center. The darkness writhes violently, whispering threats and trying to break their concentration. Suddenly, a surge of light erupts from the circle, pushing back the shadows and forcing the entity into a single, shrinking form. With one final chant, Ollie seals the entity into an ancient vessel, locking it away. The oppressive weight lifts, and the village falls silent for the first time in months. Though safe for now, Ollie knows the battle is only temporarily over. The evil has been contained, not destroyed, and its patient presence lingers, waiting for the next spark of fear to awaken it once more. Months pass in uneasy calm after Ollie and his friends seal the darkness, but a growing sense of dread haunts the village. Strange occurrences, flickering lights, shadows moving against natural angles, and whispers in empty streets signal that the evil is not gone. Ollie realizes that the entity is patient, learning to feed through fear and curiosity even without a physical home. The vessel that held it feels heavy with dark energy, a constant reminder that the entity waits for a moment of weakness. One night, Ollie wakes to find the vessel missing from its hidden chamber. Panic spreads as he and his friends search, realizing that the entity has found a way to escape its containment. It begins targeting the village subtly, manifesting in reflections, mirrors, and even electronic screens, showing distorted images of the victim's fears. Houses are shaken by ghostly noises, and the villagers grow terrified, blaming the supernatural events on lingering curses. Ollie decides to confront the entity directly. He gathers protective charms, the broken doll fragments, and the diary, preparing for a dangerous ritual designed to trap it permanently. As he enters the outskirts of the village where the dark energy is strongest, he finds distorted versions of his friends appearing as shadowy illusions, attempting to confuse and terrify him. The entity communicates through whispers, taunting him, promising that no one can escape its grasp. Summoning all his courage, Ollie begins the ritual, chanting incantations from the diary. Shadows twist violently around him, and the air fills with suffocating darkness. The broken dolls vibrate and glow, anchoring the ritual's power. After intense struggle, the entity is forced into a confined spectral form and sealed once more into the vessel, which Ollie buries deep underground. Exhausted and terrified, Ollie leaves the site, knowing that the evil is contained, but the lingering presence is a permanent scar on the village, a reminder that curiosity can awe. The village has regained a fragile sense of normalcy, but a shadow of fear lingers over Ollie and his friends. The vessel containing the entity remains buried underground, but Ollie begins noticing small, troubling signs, shadows that move independently, strange reflections in windows, and whispers that echo his name even when he is alone. It becomes clear that the entity is still trying to influence the world, feeding off fear without fully manifesting. One evening, during a storm, Ollie and his friends are drawn to a forested area near the village where dark energy pulses. Lightning illuminates twisted trees, and the wind carries faint cries and whispers. They find remnants of the dolls scattered across the ground, some partially buried, glowing faintly with a malevolent energy. The air feels heavy, almost alive, and the friends sense the entity is attempting to reconstruct itself. Fear threatens to paralyze them, but Ollie remembers the lessons from previous encounters. Courage and unity are their strongest weapons. The entity begins to manifest through illusions, showing horrifying images of the villagers in danger, manipulating shadows to separate the group. Its voice echoes from all directions, promising that those who resist will be consumed. The friends stick together, chanting protective phrases and using the remaining doll fragments to disrupt the entity's connection to the world. Shadows writhe violently, trees creak and snap, and the ground trembles as the dark force fights back. After a tense and exhausting confrontation, the entity is once again forced into the vessel, now reinforced with new wards and symbols from the diary. The glowing fragments dissipate, leaving the forest eerily quiet. Ollie and his friends breathe in relief, realizing that the entity's ability to escape has been weakened, though not destroyed. They return to the village, forever changed, aware that the darkness still exists, waiting for curiosity or fear to awaken it again. Time passes, and life in the village seems calm, but Ollie feels a growing unease. The entity, though contained, continues to whisper through shadows, testing the villagers' fear from afar. Some people report seeing fleeting figures in mirrors, hearing their names called, or feeling cold hands brush past them. Ollie realizes that the evil is not fully gone. It has adapted, learning to manipulate fear without manifesting physically. Determined to end its influence once and for all, Ollie gathers his friends and revisits the diary and occult texts. They discover that the entity can only be destroyed by confronting the source of its power, which is tied to the cursed dolls and the energy of those who fear most. The friends prepare a final, complex ritual combining protective wards, the remaining doll fragments, and incantations meant to sever the entity's hold on the world permanently. On a moonless night, they venture to the location where the vessel had been buried. The forest surrounding the site feels alive. Shadows stretch unnaturally, whispering threats and luring them into fear. The air grows thick with tension, and the entity begins manifesting, forming terrifying shapes from shadows, distorted reflections, and phantom voices. Each friend is confronted with visions of their deepest fears, testing their courage and resolve. Ollie focuses on the ritual, using the fragments to anchor the entity while chanting from the diary. The shadows scream, twisting violently, and the earth trembles. After a tense struggle, the entity is finally forced into a collapsing vortex of dark energy, consumed entirely by the ritual. The vessel shatters, and the doll's remnants burn away, leaving nothing behind. The forest falls silent, and a calm dawn rises over the village. Ollie and his friends have survived, and the evil is destroyed, for now. But the memory of the horrors remains, a permanent reminder that curiosity and fear can awaken forces beyond understanding. Months have passed since the destruction of the entity, and the village has slowly returned to normal. Yet Ollie and his friends remain forever changed, carrying the memories of darkness that almost claimed them. They notice subtle signs, a fleeting shadow, a whisper carried by the wind, or a doll moved slightly from its place. Reminders that evil may never fully disappear. The village itself seems to hold its breath, aware of what once lurked among them. Ollie decides to teach the villagers how to protect themselves, sharing knowledge from the diary and rituals to ward off supernatural threats. While the entity is gone, the cursed dolls and their remnants have left residual energy, making certain places sensitive to fear. Villagers begin to avoid old abandoned areas, and children are warned never to wander near forests or ruins after dark. Ollie's group remains vigilant, understanding that curiosity and fear can awaken dormant forces at any time. One night, Ollie walks alone through the village, recalling the long nights of terror. He notices a faint glow under the roots of a tree near the outskirts, reminiscent of the first doll's eerie eyes. Though the energy is weak, it reminds him that evil is patient, waiting for opportunity. Ollie realizes that survival requires not just courage, but respect for the unknown. The story ends with Ollie standing silently under the moonlight, watching over the village. The darkness that once terrorized them has been contained and largely destroyed, but its presence is a permanent scar on their world. Fear, curiosity, and vigilance now coexist in the villagers' daily lives. The horror is over for now, yet Ollie knows that some forces, though defeated, are eternal, waiting silently in the shadows, ready to emerge if forgotten or underestimated. The tale concludes with a chilling message. Curiosity can awaken what should remain hidden, and courage alone may not be enough to survive the darkness.